All right. Technical difficulties, but here we are. Let's see, wait for a couple of people to hop on. We are waiting for, hello. Waiting for a couple of people to hop on here, and then we will get to it. Thank you for your patience. We're having some difficulties there, but you know it's live, so you never know what you're gonna get. You never know what's gonna happen. Hey Nando, thanks for hopping on. Mr. Schaefer. Hey guys.
How are you?
Oh man, I'm so good. I'm better now though. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys on here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, everything's good. Can you hear us?
Perfect. I got you guys loud and clear.
Okay.
All right. Well, okay, so we got a couple people on now. Yeah, so a little bit late, but some technical difficulties that happens when you go live. You just never know what's going to happen. And to be honest with you, I'm not that savvy with technology. I'm still learning, but it's part of the process, right? But hey, here we are. It's Wealth Wednesdays. I couldn't be happier to have you guys on. It's all about what do we have in our community that we are just, our blessings. What is it that we have that we aren't lifting up enough, right? Oftentimes we look too far for all of the good and the beauty that surrounds us. And usually what we forget is that you don't have to look that far, you know? And so for me, when we talk about the concept of wealth, a lot of people think, well, when you're talking about wealth, you're talking about money, right? And that's a story for another day, but we shouldn't be afraid to talk about money. I mean, we need to get comfortable with talking about money so that we know where we stand, what we need to do to get to where we want to go, right? It's all about strategizing. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about wealth. We're talking about emotional, mental, intellectual, spiritual wealth, right? That when you put all of those components together, you can truly be not only a healthy person, not only a financially stable person, but truly a wealthy individual. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
Yvonne and Rene, we've talked about this before one-on-one. So my thought is, why not talk about it in front of people? Why not talk about it in front of those who have been exposed to it, but also those who really haven't, and really normalize it? You know, we need to start talking about these ideas more. And so, as you know, just a little story. I started Wealth Wednesdays just a couple of weeks ago, really, with a good friend of mine, Louis Perales, because we were talking about these are the types of conversations that we need to be having more often, right? And so I said, all right, well, someone's got to do it. I may not be the best person to do it, but I'm sure going to start it, you know, and then maybe somebody else can pick it up after that. And then last week I had a really good friend of mine, Melissa. She runs her own like fitness and dietary program by counting macros. And so that's kind of the idea, you know, put all of those components together and hopefully develop a healthier and wealthier community by inspiring others to do it, you know, little by little. Does that sound okay?
Yes, absolutely. That's so important. Oh my goodness. All these feelings, all these emotions, all these thoughts are coming to me as you're speaking, and I'm just like, right, like so thankful, you know, and you said you're not savvy, but you're doing it, and that's the thing, is getting out and doing it. And you know, I greatly appreciate you having us here. My name is Yvonne.
My name is Rene, Ballesteros.
And we're just going to do like little introductions just to say hello to everyone and thank you for being here.
Perfect.
But yes, absolutely, that I think that it's important that we change our mindset when it comes to when we think of money, right? Like, it's really important to sit with those feelings and those emotions. Like, what is the first thought that comes to your mind when you think of money? When you think of debt, you know, when you think of wealth, you know, what are those first thoughts? And really sit with that and reflect on that. And we've had to do that. We've had to do that often, you know, to try and realize that we need to, you know, that this is ours too. You know, we need to learn how to function. You know, we're not taught these things in school at all. You know, we're not taught how to budget. We're not taught how to, you know, manage our finances. Luckily, I was fortunate enough to have my mom teach me at a very young age, and then I went into the finance industry. So I got some tools, you know, but for more marginalized communities, those things are not there. You know, on certain sides of town, there's a higher percentage of payday loan centers, right? Versus like investment companies, you know, and
Right.
so we're able to see those things. And I think that that's really important when it comes to understanding the community that you're serving, you know, and
Right.
understanding like how far, how much more you need to lift them, you know?
Right.
So
Right.
I know you have lots of stuff to talk about. We could go on for this forever, but I don't
And
want to get
that's
on
why I brought
topic.
you guys on here, right? So I know that you have just a wealth of knowledge, right? You two specifically have been doing this for a little while now, and you've been able to help and touch a lot of people's lives who, like you said, haven't had the opportunity or the resource to find that support, which is incredible, right? All of this stuff is just a foreign language unless you have a guide, a mentor of some sort. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's exactly what you guys offer, right? So can you talk a little bit about like what it is, the organization that you work for and what it is that you do?
Okay, so we represent Primerica, and we are both licensed representatives here, and we offer life insurance, term life insurance. We are very big on this idea of buy term, invest the difference. There are lots of life insurance policies out there that are sold to and are offered to communities, and they're not shared, you know, they're not transparent. And I think it's really important that I don't know if y'all have, if anyone here has heard of Dave Ramsey, but buy term, invest the difference. So you buy a term policy and you are taught, you know, by us, we sit down, we invest the time, and our coaches have invested time in us, and it's just been, you know, a trickle down effect of all of the different trainings and motivations and teachings that are taught. So we're able to show people how to invest their money and cut out the middle person, you know, and that's so important because when you're, you know, investing your money in the bank, it's like, how much do you really get, you know? And so when you're buying term, you're insuring yourself when you have the most debt, you know? And then we're working towards building that whole time. We're working towards building that wealth, you know, under your, not in someone else's name, not in, you know, the banks that are taking all the interest off of that.
Right.
And I think it's really important. And I really like the term that you said, you know, it's like a foreign language, because when I think about these things, all we are translators, you know.
Right.
We're trying to translate it into words that we understand, you know, somebody that hasn't been in this industry, to just not be afraid of it, because it's very intimidating. And it's very
because if you don't know, then it's scary, right? It's only scary because you don't know. So all you got to do is create awareness around it, make it simple, and then it helps you understand where the value is.
Exactly. So that's where we've been so fortunate to, you know, we came across this company a few years ago, and we've been so fortunate and so passionate. It's so important. We've seen the ugly things that are out there, and we have really found it in our heart to just really sit with people and help them, you know, like, well, you know, invest the time and read through policies, you know, understand them, learn them, and understand what they're saying and what they're selling out there. And so that's what we do.
I really appreciate that, Yvonne. And Rene, please jump in at any time, because I know both of you, I think both of you do the same thing, but you do it differently, right? You bring a different kind of feel and value to it. Rene, how did you guys get started doing this? Like, what was it? Like, what did something like what was ignited like within you to feel this is important to do, and I'm gonna be the one to do it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of crazy how it all started. Like you said, it started a few years ago, and it is actually with a friend of mine who was actually wanting to do the same thing, had the same interest, who was going through some training. So he kind of just asked us like, hey, can we sit down with you and Yvonne and the family and you know, go over some financial stuff, and it's kind of just for my training. And you know, like you said, it's very intimidating, you know, to people when they don't understand anything about finances. And somebody, for me, I had no idea, just exactly what finances were really, you know what I mean?
Right.
As far as go to work and get paid and pay bills. And that's as far as I knew.
Yep. Right there with
So
you.
anything that ever came to any type of, income protection or investments or retirement or anything like that, I had no idea. You know what I mean? I didn't know anything about that stuff. And I guess I really didn't, I guess I really didn't care too much about it. Because growing up, it wasn't something that we learned about.
Yeah.
And for one, we didn't learn it in schools. You know what I mean? That's not something that we were never taught. But in two, especially in our families, even amongst families, talking about finances.
It was almost taboo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was very, very private, very quiet. Nobody talked about
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? And the parents would talk about it, and then the kids, they weren't allowed to be around when they're talking about finances. So that's
Right.
kind of how I grew up.
Right.
So we sat down, with this friend of mine, and how he kind of started explaining to us, what this company actually does for their clients.
Mm.
And for me right away, I'm like, wow, this is something that, Yvonne would be great at doing, which I was like kind of pushing her to do. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Just because of, being taught that way for so long, that when it comes to finances, that it's something that I don't really get involved with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she did it for a couple years, and that's kind of how we got involved, little by little. She became part of this company. She met some people, and about a year and a half later or so, at one of the events at the Aslan gym, she ran into an old friend of hers from an office, and they were talking, and I just happened to walk up, and we got introduced. Me and his name is Fernando Ledesma. We started talking, and he's like, well, hey, let me sit down with you and kind of explain a little bit more. At that point, we were already kind of, somewhat talking about, finances and things like that. And, and we already had a policy through the business, because at that point we already knew the value of it.
Right.
At that time, I was working out of town and traveling back and forth. The value of if something were to happen to me, while I was driving or at work in a different state,
right.
What would my family be left with, and how would that affect them? So we knew the value and the importance of having income protection, and knowing that my family was protected and that they were going to be okay if something were to happen to me. So, knowing that and kind of meeting Fernando, we just kind of, I sat down with him, kind of looked a little bit more into the business, and I decided, like, what, this is something that, for one, that's important for me to know and understand.
Right.
But two, it's important for my community to know and understand.
Right.
Because, like I said, a lot of us don't know anything about it. Don't know anything about anything that comes with finances. So I wanted to be the one, to be able to provide this to our community.
Yeah.
And not at the expense of putting them in a debt situation, but at the expense of what's going to work for them, the best interest for our community and for our clients.
Yes.
So that's kind of that's one of my biggest pushes is and being part of this this business and wanting to do this is for my community and just to bring awareness and educate to educate our community and our families on the importance of of why we're here and why this is important for your families. So
that's amazing.
That's kind of more or less how we got involved with it, and so.
I really appreciate you sharing that, Rene. You know what? Just a couple of things that really stood out to me that I really want to hone in on. You spoke about, in your job, you constantly found yourself traveling, and you start to think about all of the things that you do that are just you're put at risk almost on a daily basis, and then you start thinking about what would happen if there was some sort of tragedy that happened to me, that is some sort of unforeseen. What would happen to my family? Yeah. And there's nothing better than just to know that my family would be okay. Sure, our hearts would be broken, but financially, my family would be taken care of. And that is the prime definition of wealth. When I talk about Wealth Wednesdays, we talk about creating generational wealth that's going to not only take care of our own families, but our communities as well, right? Because I'm a firm believer in when we're coming up, we have to come up together, right? And that's why I respect a lot of what you guys are doing, and exactly everything that you just said, Rene, is at no point were you talking about ego. At no point were you talking about, I want to become a successful business owner. The whole time you were talking about, how can we turn this kind of theme around of not wanting to know, and then somehow ending up lost, right, with finances and financial planning and asset protection, to actually being intentional about what we do to ensure that our generations to come don't have to go through the struggles that we went through.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is that we do here at Wealth Wednesdays. Yvonne, why is this so important? I mean, obviously there's endless amounts of reasons, but in your opinion, why is it time for us to stop ignoring these types of intentional conversations? And why do you think it's so important for us to be more strategic about not only our assets, but wealth that we haven't accumulated yet?
I think it's important, oh my goodness, for so many different reasons. I think it's important for us to start doing this now, because for many of us, and I don't want to speak for a lot of people, I can't speak for everyone, but for many of us, we've been in survival mode. As marginalized people, we've been in survival mode for so long. And now it's time for us to start, reaching out, as we're comfortable, reaching out and learning more and learning how to navigate this society, and learning those tools.
Right.
But it's also important, like right now, so I'm coming from this stance of an educator. We're coming from the stance of like education, as
Right.
opposed to someone that's like coming for help.
Right.
But for us right now to do this is important because there's not a lot of us out there, right?
Right.
There's not a lot of people that are out there trying to help people get more money, because it's like exactly what you said. It's all about ego. It's all about me. What can I get, right?
Right.
And that's obviously not how community works,
Right.
Like I said, community brings everyone together. And so that is why it's important. And that is what drives me, and that's what drives us and our family. We've done different types of community work throughout all of these years here in Tucson. We're both native Tucsonans for many generations, and so that's why it's important to us, because we see all these transitions. We see a lot of changes that are happening, whether it's location of living or resources, and so that's important, and it's important for us to start also, as we can, invest in ourselves, invest in our families, because like exactly what you said, that creates that generational wealth,
Right.
Those estates, that's how you create those estates,
Right.
And so, yeah,
I love it. No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you so much for touching, especially on the idea of self-care and taking care of yourself. We can't take care of anybody else unless we take care of ourselves. For those of you who are tuning in, my first edition of Wealth Wednesdays, I had a good friend of mine. His name is Louis Perales from ZenCons. He's a mentor. He's a life and leadership coach. And he said something really special, right? He said that he wants to take care of himself so that his cup can overflow and bring everybody else with him, right? We can't help anybody unless we have taken the necessary steps to take care of ourselves first, right? And that's why next weekend we're going to be talking about, holistic healing, and then we're going to be talking about yoga, and then business leadership, because all of that is what truly creates wealth. But anyways, I just gave you a sneak peek into next week. So let's talk about some misconceptions, right? What are some of the misconceptions that you guys encounter when maybe meeting new people and talking about Primerica and the services that you guys offer to create and sustain that individual and generational wealth for people, the asset protection, the term life insurance, all of those wonderful services that you offer? What are some of the misconceptions that sometimes you hear?
A lot of them that we hear, that we come across, right, are like, I wouldn't say it's a misconception. Well, no, it is a misconception, because they think that they can't afford it. And that's one of the beautiful things about term, is that it's affordable, because there's a long-term plan. You know, it's not like some other policies out there. And we will definitely, for, you know, this is a lot of new language for some people. And we are also going to extend our contact information to talk later,
Right.
one-on-one. But that's one of the misconceptions, is that it's not affordable, and that they're not going to get anything, they're not going to qualify, that it's too difficult. And it's very, you know, it's very easy. It's not, you know, it's not very hard to sit down, and I think that's one of the biggest ones, you know, one of the biggest ones that we come across. I'm trying to think of other misconceptions.
Well, maybe, and if you think of any other ones, just let me know. If anybody around that's live right now has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box, and I'm sure Rene and Yvonne will be happy to get to them. But I'm gonna go off script a little bit, if you don't mind, Yvonne. What are some of the biggest success stories that you've seen or have experienced with some of the clients that you've been able to help?
Yeah, so I mean, I've sat with a lot of people that you know, that because one thing that we also do within this company is we're really big on debt. You know what I mean? We're really big on debt, and you know, there's a few clients that we that's something that we offer to our clients. So you know, that's one thing that a lot of our clients are really drawn to, is because you know, a lot of us are living to 60, 70 with debt. You know, and that's a big deal for our clients.
Right.
So being able to get somebody into a program that's that allows them to you know, to eliminate that debt, you know, way sooner, you know, that's something that people really appreciate. Something that they really appreciate, that, and something that you know, that we feel, you know, very grateful, you know, to be able to help clients that way. Because a lot of because that, you know, it all kind of trickles, you know. So a lot of people that have debt aren't able to retire because they can't afford to retire because of the debt, you know, and that's something that we do, you know, for our clients for free, you know, and that we're very thankful to be able to sit down with the client and just know that, you know what, like, to hear them say, man, you know, I can be debt free within these, you know, these next few years, you know, and you know, I personally haven't done any type of you know, beneficiary deliveries or anything like that, but you know, that's something that I'm very grateful that I would be able to do for a family in a time of you know, of a loss, you know, that we're able to provide something for them. Yeah.
What a blessing, and what a humbling experience, what you just said about being able, because debt, as we all know, it causes depression, right? And it can turn your world very dark, very quick. So what a blessing, and what a beautiful opportunity you guys have within your company to be able to offer those services for free, where you can become like a coach or a guide to help somebody navigate that, right? And have them achieve something, because when you're in debt, it feels like you can't get out of it. So so thank you, Rene and Yvonne, for doing those types of services. I didn't know they were free. That's wonderful. So as you guys are playing this back, or any of you guys who are with us live, please reach out. Please reach out to Rene and Yvonne to get some of those services that they offer. So how do they go about doing that, Yvonne and Rene? How can people get in touch with you to be able to get some of those services that Primerica offers?
We have we have email, we have social media, we have phone numbers.
Yeah, drop it in.
I think the best way would be through phone number. And I don't know if I should just say it or if I should put it in the comments.
Yeah, go ahead and say it, and then when I upload the video, I'll also type it in there. Okay,
perfect. So my number is 520-260-1976. And Renee's is 520-409-2576. And at any point, you all can reach out and we can talk and, you know, answer any questions. And please don't feel intimidated. Please don't feel like you're going to ask a stupid question. I've asked plenty of silly questions that I thought were silly questions, right? But they're very important, you know, and those things help humble me and help me to understand. I ask tons of questions. But definitely, you know, just be willing to learn, you know. I think it's super important, like you said, that self-care, you know, we're not taught that, you know, we're not taught how to care for ourselves.
Much less when it comes to finances and debt and asset protection and term life insurance and investments. We don't talk about that enough, and we need to start talking about it today, and we need to start planning for our future. for the future of our future generations and bring everybody else with us as well. So with that said, Rene, do you have anything to sign us off with?
No, just, you said, I really appreciate you, having us on here. We're very grateful to be able to be on here and just kind of share a little bit on what we do, and what, we're excited to do. We're excited
Yes.
to be able to help our community and help families, because every week, time and time again, we see these fundraisers for family members that have passed, and that's something that we try to get rid of, that we want to be able to provide some type of service, provide some type of stability for families, and so we're just really thankful that we're able to be on here with you. We really appreciate you, and just thank you again, for asking us to do this, and we're really grateful. We've known you a long time. We're very close. You're like a brother, and I just appreciate everything.
Yes, absolutely. We're definitely family. Our children love each other. We love each other. So nothing better than to ensure that we're all coming up together. And I really appreciate you both taking the time. I know that we have our kiddos kind of running around. So thank you for being able to, and willing to coordinate that and sharing that love. So I'll be posting this. So make sure you share it and let everybody know that you guys are here and you guys are available to be a resource to provide that relief and that guidance. So again, thank you everybody who joined us. Mia, Nando, Denise, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and please reach out if there's anything that we can do for you guys. So take care, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.
We'll see you
so
soon.
much.
You guys have a good
Bye,
night.
guys.
Thank you.